Welcome to Game Crunch, your weekly video game podcast. My name is Mike Anastasia. With me today we got Brandon.
Hello,
We're going to talk about games and things.
games and things.
Let's see what's new on the agenda today. Well, last week was a Nintendo Direct. We talked about that
Yeah,
last
we did.
week.
Yeah,
So, not much news-wise, but we both
Yeah.
got new games to talk about.
yeah,
So, Brandon's got his DLC for
I do.
his Elden Ring. And
Which,
then
yeah,
what?
I got it. I was gonna say, which is actually insane to me that this is a $40 DLC because it feels like a new game. Like that's crazy. Like, so that's the main thing about this. Like when you buy like a DLC or like an expansion for something, I'm just going straight into it, by the way, because I really want to chat about this. When you buy like a DLC or an expansion for like something, you expect to get like, a few hours out of it, that sort of thing. I'm at like 24 hours in and I still am finding new stuff. And I'm nowhere near finishing it. This just feels like a second game, to be completely honest. Like, and that's super impressive that they're pretty much selling you a new game for the price of a DLC, and it's really fucking good. It is so fucking good.
Yeah, that's good. What are your favorite parts so far?
Okay, so they decided to implement a system a lot of people aren't understanding for this DLC. There are these fragments that you find by literally exploring the world. And these fragments allow you to over-level and actually level in this specific area. The DLC and the base game are two separate areas where you have to go to a different place, and you're on a completely different map in a completely different region. It's not something that's connected to the original games area, except for very loosely when you get teleported there initially. But the thing about it is it really, really encourages you and pretty much requires you to explore to finish things. There are these new things called Erdtree fragments. And these fragments are things that you have to get. Like, you really do have to get them. And you get them by exploring and just finding them out in the wild. And it kind of has like that Breath of the Wild sort of deal where you want to go and explore places and see what's what and what's over here and what's over there and what can I find by going this way and It has that kind of sense of exploration, except it's just really fucking hard. But as you get more of the Erdtree fragments, which there are a lot of them, you are able to get more powerful, and that's essentially the way you level up in this DLC compared to just getting levels by cashing in runes and that sort of thing. So runes that you get from enemies in this DLC feel completely worthless.
Okay.
So, like, when I lose them, like when you lose souls in a Souls-like game, or when you lose whatever the MacGuffin is in that kind of game that you would normally use to level yourself up, you kind of are like, damn, that sucks. I lost it to that boss. I need to go back in there. I need to grab my runes, but then I got to beat the boss, or I got to keep going in there, and I got to keep grabbing my runes, and I got to keep trying to beat the boss, and I can't forget to, but I also have to try and focus on the boss. It doesn't really fucking matter in this, like, at all, because it's completely separate. Like, yes, you can level your character build up that way, but the base amount of damage that you're going to be doing in this game is through exploring and finding new things in the game itself. When you find these fragments, it allows you to overlevel, which is what makes you more powerful, gives you more resistance as well as more strength to take on these bosses. And these bosses are some of the best that I've seen, period. Like, I love Bloodborne, and Bloodborne is still my favorite Souls game ever, but this is getting really close with this DLC, mostly because there's some really interesting things here. For instance, I climbed a mountain, and while I was climbing the mountain, and I saw two dragons fighting each other, and then I had to fight those dragons while they were fighting each other. So I was in the middle of two dragons having a big epic fucking battle fighting one another, and I had to fight them at the same time as they were fighting each other. So I had to dodge the attacks that one dragon was like doing to the other dragon, and I had to fight both the dragons at the same time. And it was really fucking cool. It was really neat. It was super cinematic. It was awesome the way it was like designed. And then that wasn't even like the main boss. The main boss was at the peak of the mountain, which was another thing. However, summons and this, that, and the other are a thing that you can do. And if you killed those two things at the base of the mountain, then you find a guy who he has a quest for you essentially, and it's to go kill the thing at the top of the mountain. And when you go up to the top of the mountain and finally make it up there, his spirit is essentially waiting for you when you go into the battle, and he will help you. And this guy is pretty much the Elden Ring equivalent of Captain Ahab from fucking Moby Dick. This man is just chucking harpoons at the boss while you're fighting and screaming at it the whole time, being like, damn you! And just like, it is so cool. It is such an awesome boss fight. I'm not going to like spoil much about it, but it is so neat the way it is done, and I fucking loved it. That boss took me a very, very long time. I think that took me like 4 hours. But that was ridiculously hard initially, and then I got that guy to help me. And having that guy help me and having the lore of the whole thing going along with it, and him essentially being Captain Ahab, made it so cool the way it was handled. And I loved that. There's been other characters that I've fought that do have things to do with characters in the original, like, base game. And it's kind of filling in some blanks from there of like things we were kind of told but not really told. And I've just really enjoyed all the exploration, all the like absolutely beautiful vistas that I've seen in the game itself. I'm gonna like actually show you some, so I'm just gonna post like one in the chat, for instance, because there's been some incredible pictures that I've seen other people take, and then I've taken some myself as well, which was awesome. So yeah, this I know you're never gonna play this game, so it's fine, but this is a spoiler what I'm showing you, so don't share it with other people. But like, look how fucking cool all of this looks. Just everything on this screen. Like, you've got the tree in the background, you've got my character right there, you got a giant fuck off thing right there in the background. They're like a fire golem. You got all the like light rays coming down, and you see like things crumbling around, and I'm standing in ruins, and there's like a tree over to the right, and there's a man that's hung himself in the tree. And it's just, the aesthetic of this DLC is so fucking good, and there's so much stuff to do in it that it is incredible that this is a DLC and not a completely new game.
Yeah, it looks really good. Like, that screenshot is incredible. I agree. Like, the lighting especially is just phenomenal. Right?
And I don't even have ray tracing on in that. That's just the normal lighting. I could have turned on ray tracing, but fuck that. So yeah, this game's been getting this DLC has been getting trashed a lot of the time because of performance issues, but other points and times because it's just so fucking hard. Elden Ring has been basically known as Babby's first FromSoft game, because Elden Ring is very, very, very easy. The original Elden Ring is like, it does have the Souls hardness factor to it and all that good jazz, but it is doable by people that aren't like, you know, hardcore FromSoft fanboys or hardcore Dark Souls fanboys. Anyone could be given Elden Ring, could learn the way the game works, and could play it. And I think we've talked about that before in the past when I've mentioned it when it originally came out in 2022. Elden Ring is one of those games that is very approachable, and because of that, it gained a lot of mainstream appeal, and even won Game of the Year that it came out. Now here's the thing. Elden Ring DLC is not. Like, it is incredibly hard. It's almost as though the creator of Elden Ring, Miyazaki, looked at everyone being like, this game's really easy, and he was like, I'll fucking show them. And that's essentially what happened. This game is incredibly hard. When I would play the original base game of Elden Ring, it would take me like maybe 1 or 2, 3 or 4 tries at most to like beat any boss in that. I am going on like 4 hours worth of trying to beat several bosses in the Elden Ring DLC. It is incredibly difficult. I've also changed up things such as changing my my class and like the way I like spec myself out and that sort of thing, and changed around all that good jazz. And even so, I still have difficulty with quite a few bosses. There have been moments and times where I've found a boss, I've attempted them several times for several hours, and it just didn't work out. So I just went and explored some more, got some more Erdtree fragments, came back, then fought them again, and then beat them or 1 to 3 tries, that sort of deal. But these bosses are really hard. Like the way they are designed is really hard. A lot of people have downrated this game because of how difficult the game is. It is very difficult. It's like normal enemies will like 2-shot you in some cases. But like
that's
I said,
saying, which is pretty incredible for something so late game, I think.
Go find those Erdtree fragments. It's how you live in this game. It's what you do. If you find new weapons, and if you find new armor, and if you find Erdtree fragments in the DLC, you could play the DLC. Don't get stuck in the in the base game build that you originally made. You're gonna want to respec. That's the main takeaway that I have come away after playing, I think, 20 hours of this DLC alone since it came out. You're gonna need to respec. It's as simple as that. There are gonna be some new weapons that you're gonna find, and you're gonna want to use them because they're better overall than what you had in the base game, and you're gonna have a better chance at defeating the enemies using them. And on top of that, explore. You're gonna want to explore the new world. It's going to be really daunting initially, but as you explore and you learn more and you find more places and you find more of those fragments, the game will get easier. It's never going to get easy. It's never going to be base game Elden Ring levels of easier. That's just not happening because that's not the way this is designed. This is really difficult. It almost is like people were complaining about how easy the original game was, and the developers just looked at it and they were like, well, I can fix that. And they did by making it incredibly hard for the DLC. And that, I think, is fine. I think if you're playing a DLC after you've beaten the game initially, then maybe, just maybe, it shouldn't be easy. Like, that's as simple as that. Like, this DLC takes place essentially after the original base game. Not technically, because you only have to beat 2 bosses. One's a hidden boss, and the other one is a boss that's about 50-60% of the way through the game. But you've seen enough and you've done enough by that point, and many people actually just straight up beat the game, so it doesn't matter, that having this DLC be difficult for difficulty's sake and is totally fine. It's totally fair, especially when you take into account the fragments that you can hunt down and that the game wants you to hunt down to explore the new world of this new DLC. That makes it, I think, totally fair. I do think there is some very much needed constructive criticism for this DLC, though. Yeah. I don't think I could give this DLC a 10 out of 10. Even if I wanted to. Like, here's the thing. I really, really am enjoying my time with it. And I am having a difficult time with it. And I recognize that the difficulty is way harder than the base game. However, one thing that is not helping this difficulty is there are so many massive, and I mean massive, enemies for the boss battles in this game. And the camera gets stuck on the wall so many times when you're in smaller arenas that it makes it very difficult. And sometimes you'll be fighting those bosses and you'll think to yourself, that wasn't my fault. And I've never really had that feeling with many Souls games, and especially not FromSoft Souls games, but I have had that feeling in a few bosses that was not my fault. That camera could not keep up with what I was doing, and as such, I could not see that enemy off screen when it killed me. And I do think that is a very, very valid criticism for this, because a lot of these bosses are in confined spaces, and some of them will just dash at you the second you go through their boss door, and then just kind of pummel you into pulp on the ground. And since it's dashing at you very quickly, you're going to get bodied in a corner because the camera can't keep up with the movements that you're trying to do. And you can't keep up with the boss's movements due to the camera fighting you every step of the way. Now, this is not every boss. And I would say I've maybe only run into it with 3 of the 10 bosses I've fought so far.
Okay.
But it is there. And it does happen, and it is frustrating because it is something that is beyond your control. I've always thought that Souls games, for the most part, are very fair but difficult. That is just how I feel when it comes to these games. If you learn the mechanics of them and you learn the enemy's attack patterns, which is what the game is trying to teach you how to do, then you can win these games. It's simple as that. However, I do think the camera has made some of my losses not be my fault in some of these boss battles I've had.
Yeah, and that can be very frustrating.
It's very annoying when that happens. There's 2 in particular that infuriated me because literally they moved around the arena so quickly that your camera would try to keep up with them, and it just couldn't. And that was a really big problem. And what makes those boss fights worse is one of them is technically the second boss in the entire DLC. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people are getting absolutely demolished at that boss and quitting very, very soon. Not even continuing to try the DLC, and as such, the game is the DLC has actually gotten really really poor reviews. And I do understand people's frustration because that is a valid complaint. What is not a valid complaint is when you're just the game's too hard. You say that, it's what the fuck did you expect? You're playing beyond in-game. What do you fucking expect? Of course, it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Did you just want to walk in with would you just want to walk in with your level 300 thing and kill everything? No, get fucked. That's not what's going to happen here. But yeah, essentially, I'm really enjoying this. I know I've got a long way to go, and because I've been exploring a lot, I've got 10 Erdtree fragments, which I think there's 40 or something. I don't know how many there are. There's a shit ton. There's a shit ton. I don't know exactly how many there are. I haven't looked it up because I've been going into this very blind, but I'm guessing entirely, essentially, on what it is, based on where I've gone and what I've already explored. I've explored a decent chunk of the map. I've had some really, really cool moments that are awesome and very cryptic, but when you accidentally or purposely figure them out, if you're looking for a specific thing and you look it up, which I have done once because I really wanted this one katana that they had. So I was like, how the fuck do I get this? And then I looked it up and I was like, I would have never fucking figured this out. But even so, it was really cool, seeing that entire quest line come together. It was awesome. So I do think this is probably my favorite DLC for a Soulsborne game since Old Hunters, which was Bloodborne's DLC, which I think was one of the hardest DLCs in the FromSoft catalog until this one. And I think this one might be the hardest DLC that FromSoft has ever put out. So
I mean, it sounds like it from everything you've said.
Yeah. And people don't know this, but right before we started, I tried to show you one of the bosses. Yeah. I literally dodged everything perfectly and got hit a single time and instantly fucking died. I did everything perfectly, and then it got me with one fucking move, and I instantly died. You can't make mistakes. That's the main thing. It demands perfection, essentially, in some cases with these boss fights. And I think that's fine, but also I do think that it can be a little bit excessive, and I know there's ways to offset it, and I am just kind of stubborn, but It is what it is. and I've really enjoyed my time with it. So yeah,
That's good. I know you've been pretty excited for it, so it's good that it was worth it.
I'm so excited still to play it. Like I just want you to shut up and let me go play my game. Honestly, no, I'm just kidding.
All right. What else? Anything else?
No, that is. I literally spent like 40 hours playing Elden Ring this last week.
I'll talk about my things. I got two things to talk about today.
All right.
One of them's not very exciting. I did it last week after we talked about it, but the after the direct when they put out Zero Mission, I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. I'm like, I literally just wanted to play this, and here it is. So so I ran through that again. It plays really nicely on the Switch, I thought.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I actually, and I don't know if it was just kind of like the sheer amount of times that I've played through this game, but this is like my easiest playthrough of it ever. Like it was very smooth. I took down all the bosses on the first try, which never happens. Usually, at least Mother Brain will dick you into the lava once or twice and get you, but no, it all went really well. It controlled really nicely. Yeah, it was really nice to play on the Switch. I was very happy with it. So I still think it's probably one of the best Metroid games. I'm definitely all excited for Prime now. So
Prime 4 looks so fucking good.
It does. I was just watching the Digital Foundry thing yesterday too, and they were like, definitely the Switch. Like this is 100% Switch, not Switch 2. So,
I don't think it is. I think there's a lot there in that video. So like I know Digital Foundry is the be all end all of but I think we're underestimating how big of a leap, which there isn't going to be that big of a leap between the Switch and the Switch 2, or whatever the fuck the Switch 2 is. Yeah. And I do think that it is running on the Switch 2. I think it is.
After going back through it again, I think it's Switch 1.
It's too
smooth.
It
a couple times this weekend.
It's too smooth. If it was Switch 1, I would have seen so much frame rate dipping. There's no frame rate dipping in that.
Yeah, but there's not a lot really going on there. Like once you look at it, like I think it feels a lot grander than it does. But I don't know. I don't think so. But we'll see. We'll know not too long.
I think it is. That's my take. Is this is running on the Switch 2, or maybe some form of backwards compatibility through the Switch 2. That is my take, because I do not believe for a second that the resolution would be as clear as it is, because it's very clear. That is not like 720p. That's like nice 1080 running at like, I don't know if it's 30 or 60, but either way, it's smooth and not like normal Switch smooth, 21, 24 FPS. It's definitely smoothed out and it looks very nice in motion. And that is just not something you can say about Switch titles for the last like 2 years.
I mean, have you looked at Metroid Prime Remastered?
But that is a old game. That's not a new game.
But it still has all the updated like graphical tech that you would expect. And it looks really nicely.
All right. Okay. I'll give you that. I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I mean, it's entirely possible I'm wrong.
I would say I'll watch the trailer again. Like I think my eyes made it look so much better than it does. I mean, don't get me wrong, it doesn't look bad. But like once I looked at it, I was like, there's really not as much going on here as I thought. And like you look at the flames and those are some shitty fire. Like, they really didn't spend more than 10 seconds on that. So yeah, I don't know. Take a look. We'll see. Like I said, we'll know soon enough. But
yeah.
But yeah, definitely excited for Metroid. And the other thing I played, super new. We've not talked about it before, ever. Except when it was pre-release. I ended up getting Lorelei and the Laser Eyes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that was actually my big playthrough this week. So
Okay, so what is this game?
Okay, that is a great question. So basically, I in my mind, this is how I described it to myself when I was thinking about how I would describe it when we got to this point. And so it's basically like if you took a game made by Suda51, and then stuck it in the Resident Evil mansion, and then had the gameplay of The Witness. That is Lorelei and the Laser Eyes.
That combination doesn't make any sense.
It is just a wild puzzle game.
Okay.
And it is very much. I mean, it's not as. I mean, it's definitely more puzzle based, like contextually, like inside the setting of the hotel.
Hmm.
That this level is, but it's very much like Resident Evil kind of like level design, the craziness of Suda, and just kind of these like abstract environmental puzzles that you kind of have to wrap your brain around. And they're not always even just kind of like, like room puzzle. It's like some of these puzzles are like very like grand, like across the scope of the game, like grand puzzles. Uh so it's really interesting. Like I really kind of like it. You start out really kind of like basically, and they have you doing the like some puzzles that have involved like letters and time, but they'll do things like Roman numerals and all these other kind of like big concepts. And the puzzles themselves, a lot of times they look like they're very easy to over complicate in like your head. Like sometimes I'm like looking at these puzzles, I'm like, oh my god, the solution is so complicated, and it's not. It's like it's much easier than I look at it. But
Mm.
then there was about 2 or 3 puzzles where I was like, I can't figure this fucking shit out, and it was not that hard. So I guess it really kind of depends, but yeah, it's interesting. It's really an experience. Like I was, like I said, literally captivated by this game. I found myself like thinking about it at work. Like it just, I don't know. There's so much kind of to break down. There's so many different layers of puzzles all over the place that you really kind of like, well, I can go to this area and I can work on this puzzle, but I'm also have like these other puzzles that haven't been unlocked yet, and maybe I need something from them to do this puzzle or to get to this room to explore this new area so I can get to this thing. I'm like, I know I need this other component to unlock this thing. So I'm like, where is it? And then there's also kind of like cool unlockables. Like there's puzzles inside the world where it's like, oh, you found like an architectural blueprint kind of thing. And that has a puzzle on it. And if you solve that, then that's like a floor map you get, like something like that. So yeah, there really is like all sorts of stuff. And it's kind of like a big escape room too. Like it really uses like simple solutions with difficult puzzles, and it's actually like really nice. So the story itself, not anything. I mean, when I say Suda, like it literally is like almost a Suda story in so many ways. So kind of like ghosts and demons, and I don't know, maybe not demons, maybe something that could be perceived kind of like demons. But yeah, there's definitely kind of like almost like a murder mystery element to this story. Um, and just kind of understanding like your character's role and everything. That's
Okay.
good. I really like it. Um, I think it took me. I finished it. Like the in-game clock said 20 hours, but this one I know there's a lot of fluff in it. Like I did leave it running for a bit longer than I normally would have, like as background. Um, so I'd say probably around like 15 hours, 15, 16 hours for games. I
Okay.
would say. Yeah. And there's still even more that I could do, like some other puzzles and unlockables that I'm just like, nope, don't have time for this. I finished what I wanted to do. But
Okay.
yeah, it's really good. What questions do you have? I don't really even know how to explain this game.
I don't know. I kind of just want to play it.
I would say yeah. I definitely
The way you're
really
describing
highly
it
recommend it.
sounds like a fucking fever dream, kind of.
It almost is. Like there is stuff like I don't want to spoil things because I think that some of the surprises in this game are like
Hmm.
really kind of cool. But like there is like some real, oh, how do I put it? Some real kind of like meta stuff in there
Hmm.
sometimes that really will get you kind of, I don't know, like I said, really kind of just excited about. I was, the story is kind of like whatever, there's story there and it's interesting, but like just this world was so captivating. Like I could spend probably hours on it. So
Hmm.
just looking around and finding things. And granted, kind of like these, you played The Witness, right?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't beat it though, did you?
No. No.
Okay. So one thing that game had a problem with, and this game kind of does too, is like pacing can kind of really depends on how you do the puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
So I had some difficulty finding puzzles at the beginning. So in the middle of the game for me, it was really like puzzle demolition. Like I just went through and just wrecked a ton of puzzles all at once,
Okay.
which is good. But then once you're done with all those puzzles, then you're like, okay, well, I'm not done with the game yet, but there's still obviously threads out there. I'm like, where's what's left? So then, trying to figure out like those little scraps that are still left behind. The Witness kind of had that problem too, where it's like you finish the big things and you're left with like finding the little things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's possible really to fix that in a game like this. Like it's just kind of an inevitable thing. Like you're gonna eventually run out of puzzles in certain areas, and the ones that are going to be left are going to be the ones that you didn't find initially, anyways. So, that's that kind of thing. But definitely not a detractor from the game at all. Just kind of that is what the game is like. But no, it's good. I loved it like so much. They had some. I'm trying to even think of some ways to do it too. Even like just the music stuff that they did was really good.
Mm-hmm.
They had some like a couple vocal tracks, and they had like some just background noise, like kind of music things. They were all just kind of really catchy. That's kind of why I ended up having some fluff time in there because I just left it on. So you got those kind of things. I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot to unpack here, and like the puzzles are just so clever. Like there's so many times I got through a puzzle and I'm like, I'm so fucking smart. Like I'm like, I really got this. And I'm sure like it's just the game, and I'm sure lots of people do it, but it really just makes you feel like really freaking smart when you figure some of these things out. Like it's great. Um I loved it. I have nothing bad to say about this game. Highly recommend it. It's definitely on my game of the year list already somewhere. So there's no way this game's falling off this list.
Okay.
It's
Nice.
high enough up there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's impressive.
Yeah. I said I was nothing bad to say about it. So just really clever. And it even does things too where like you'll look at a puzzle and you'll be like, I don't know, like trying to take some guesses and stuff. And, sometimes the answer's right in front of you and you just were like, oh, I'm just oblivious. And sometimes it's, the puzzle's like just so intricate that it's like you need pieces from all over the place to kind of figure it out. So I don't know. I really like it. So yeah, that's that. Do you have any questions on it? Anything else I can answer?
No.
Uh-huh.
I think the only thing that could be answered is by me playing it. So
yeah, probably. Mm-hmm. As you should. It's out on PC and Switch. So that's it. I would say too, it runs like phenomenally on the Switch. With really no issues. So it's very artistic. You remember too, it's like that black and white where it will have like some red breakthrough, like usually with like lighting or whatever. Yeah, it's pretty neat. All right. Any news? Anything to talk about there?
I mean, there is, but I probably shouldn't touch it.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
I'll just say that we finally found out why Dr. Disrespect was banned from Twitch, and he was trying to strike a chord, and it was probably a minor.
Rah, 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 rah.
There you go. There's your Kendrick Lamar and Dr. Disrespect comment for the week. Enjoy.
Let's see what else was I going to say. Well, yeah, really, there's no big news right now. Well, actually, no. One last big piece of news. Just because I'll talk about it next week, because obviously it's there. But Beyond Good and Evil came out today. So,
oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Why Ubisoft didn't announce it at their own conference or like Nintendo's conference, and we're like, yeah, limited run games. That's where it's going to get the most traction. I mean, it's great that it's getting a limited run, but yeah. So it just kind of stealth announced. Like it was an announcement on like a Friday for a Tuesday release. It's literally, I have it on my Switch already. I haven't even got a chance to turn it on yet. So,
all right, nice.
Yeah. So that is out there for people who've not played it yet. It's an excellent game. And I'll talk about it more next week.
And I'll probably continue my Elden Ring talk.
Yeah. All right. You ready to wrap up then?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for listening to us tonight. Don't forget you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, if you want to reach out to us, you can send us an email, gamecrunchcast@gmail.com. And if you want to check out our old episodes, everything is on game-crunch.com. Brandon.
Yep.
Any final thoughts?
No, I'm going to go play more Elden Ring.
Okay. That said, my name is Mike Anastasia. You can find me online on Clash of Bang with Air or on your favorite gaming console. And until next week, game on.
Game on.
And Brandon step inside, baby, where pixels come to life. Press start, adventures on your mind, baby, game on tonight. Side quest, gotta catch that star right. Level up, the challenge is high, baby, Jones in for the prize. Find a power up, feel the vibe, baby. Bright lights in our eyes. Boss fight, the epic showdown's tight. Game Crunch, where heroes never fall.
First thing I'm going to say is I'm really good at Souls games. I play them all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
We'll discuss this one when we get to the podcast. But first, I'm just gonna show you, because this will take like 5 minutes. So I'm just gonna throw up a stream so you can watch. And I swear to God, if I beat this boss first try, I'm gonna scream, and I'm also gonna thank you because I fought this boss for 4 hours last night.
And would you not end up beating it?
Nope.
Oh, jeez.
So Elden Ring, I have the DLC. I told you I was getting the DLC. I told you I'd have to get to the DLC by completely replaying the game.
Yeah.
I'm there. I'm at that point now. I'm in the DLC. This is my current build. It's a double blood katana build with blood armor that makes it so I make enemies bleed quite a lot.
Okay.
I'm going to intro this, and I'm going to call upon my mimic tier, which makes a second version of me. I have to kill this giant tree.
Oh, that's the boss you can't beat, the tree? It's literally just like Kirby. I don't know what's so hard about it.
Oh, fuck. Okay. Don't worry, I didn't kill the boss. You have to do this 3 times.
I would say that looked way too easy for...
Yeah, you have to do this 3 times, and it gets increasingly harder each and every time it happens.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
More
so now he's going to
trees.
dash at me, and I have to roll through it, and I have to roll through it, and one more time, roll through it. Okay, so basically, now I have to get over here before he sends that at me. Oh, and that will cause blood damage if I don't roll through it, so I fucked that up. And I gotta roll through that. And I gotta roll through that. And hit that. No, fuck. He hit me. Nope. Fucking roll through it. He's gonna do a third one. No, I didn't roll the right way. Okay, so he's gonna... Yep, that happened. I need one more. Yeah, okay. Okay. Now one more time. And this is the hardest version. Oh, I need to do this. I need to do this. Oh no, he comes back with full health.
Uh-oh, what happened?
I didn't finish him off. So he's like, I would have had to fight him no matter what, but he would have had 75% instead of yeah. Okay. Now we gotta fucking fuck. Nope. Okay. Roll. One more. 2 more. Roll. Oh god damn it. That's fine. I still have 2 health. Roll through it. Okay, let's go. Roll through it. Oh my god. I didn't roll. I'm gonna actually get knocked away. Yeah, this might kill me. It killed me. See, he can one-shot you. That's the thing. I was nailing it because I was actually not missing a beat, but he will literally one-shot you. That is every boss in this DLC. It is impossible. This DLC is insanely hard. We'll continue talking about that on the actual podcast, though. I like I said, I'm level 172, and I get one shot still. It is insanely hard to
sounds
beat.
horrible.
It's so we'll talk about it on the podcast, but I'll say this: before this DLC came out, Elden Ring was the easiest Souls game.
Mhm.
After this DLC came out, it might be the hardest. So they went from one extreme to the other.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It's wild though. It's probably some of the most fun I've had with a DLC. But like I said, I want to talk about this on the podcast.